I'm Amit, and this is my friend Sanjay. And we're going to start by asking you a question. The question is, here's the question. Have you been thinking that you could be doing more or different in your life? No. That you're not being your best right now? Yes. And that you're not living your full potential? Yes.
Yeah.
Or was there a time in your life when there was a yes for these questions?
Yes.
Can you show a raise of hands? Yes. Voila. So both me and Sanjay have had these questions, and these questions led us to turmoil to begin with, and then eventually working with them, and that's what brought us together, and that's what brought our work together. So what are these struggles that most of us deal with? Is that I think I want to do more, I think I can do more, and my potential is not fully utilized yet. And there is something that seems to be holding us back. And what that something is not so clear. And even what that future is going to be is not so clear again. Karna kya hai? So we have had our own struggles, and we're going to talk a little bit about that and then what we did based on that. Sanjay, would you like to start by talking about your story?
So, this is March of 2004, and the much coveted US green card lands on my door in Bay Area, which is where I lived at that point in time with my family. And irony is that that very day, I had booked my tickets to return, a one-way ticket to India, to return with my family in May 2004, 2 months away. I was very clear that the life that I was living, I didn't want it anymore, and which is why I wanted to go back. Of course, a lot of people ask me, my family, like, how can you do this? But there was an inner turmoil that, I mean, you are now familiar with a lot, which is saying, which kept telling me, saying, there's something different, there's something more, there's something that I'm meant for. But I had no clue what that was. Well, it took a couple of years to settle down back here. I was still with the job. It took a couple of years to extricate myself out of the job. And then it took a couple of years to create the life that I want, that I live today, the life of a consultant. And all through, what started happening in those 2 years and thereafter, even till today, a lot of colleagues, friends would walk up and say, hey, you seem to have created a life that you want. So how do I create this life that I want? Heard this question so many times in the last few years. And that's what our attempt was, and Mamit and I got together and created TAKE2, a program that helps create life that each one of us wants at some stage in life. We're going to share what we've learned in the last 1 year by running 3 batches of it so far, and the 4th one coming up next month. So that's really where I am in life right now.
Thank you, Sanjay. So I think what is important to look at is, while there has been an existential need always present that we want to actualize ourselves, let's look at what's changed today. Why has this need become so prominent suddenly? And especially prominent in the, if you may say, urban, middle class, English-speaking people, the need to and desire to do something different.
So many of us would be familiar with this model and the Maslow's classical hierarchy of needs. The need for self-actualization is what we may associate with the story that I shared and the stories that we hear from others. If you see David McClellan did some work further on this, and he called it achievement motivation. That is what we really focus on in the program in TAKE2. So why are we doing this? Why are we what is it that the mega trend that we see that made us create this? So one of the things that seems to have happened definitely is that there is rapid fulfillment of the lower order needs. What my parents' generation or your parents' generation took a lifetime of employment to achieve, those needs are fulfilled at 40s for sure, and sometimes as early as 30s. So there is that fulfillment of needs, and people are asking themselves questions about, say, is that all that life is about?
What next?
What next? Right. The second thing that seems to have happened is the whole explosion of work choices. You know, many of us come from a generation where it was, we had to be engineers, doctors, and possibly MBAs after that, and life stopped there. But today you can be a UX consultant and a media consultant and a theatre personality. We saw Shilpa yesterday. We saw Rema and Reva and the Astha team and the Priya team creating a school that's of a different nature. So there's just such a multiplicity of work choices that happen. And
So if I go out in Bangalore and people ask me, what do you do? I say, I'm on my own. And the response is, wow. And my father still has jitters. Why are you not in a regular job? So that's the difference that exists.
Yeah. And to pick on that, hence it's not only socially acceptable, but if you go to our peer group,
Yeah,
right, there is not even a social acceptance, but actually a social desirability to carve my own path.
it's an in thing to be an entrepreneur these days.
It's in fact at a premium that, oh, you did something great. I mean, so Amit, and that all of this seems to express itself in the form of some kind of a calling, but that calling seems out there. You know, there are people who are like, there's something out there that I need to catch on to. There is something that has to happen for me, and I don't know what it is. It is hazy. Sometimes people know what they want to do, but then they say, I don't know how to do it, or I have tried so many times, but I can't get beyond that. But that calling seems out there. But there's something going on inside. And Amit, would you like to share with us what have we learned so far about that?
So if you go back to that model, go next. So next one, Sanjay. So what happens is, as we have grown up, at least our generation and the generation before that, there have been centuries and centuries of occupation and resulting poverty, and hence the mindset that's gotten set in is of wanting safety and security. The theme, the script that I was given in life was go to school, get good marks, go to college, get a good job, earn money, settle down. Right? I'm sure many of us grew up in those scripts. So what that did is it kind of led to a mindset which ingrained fear of failure deeply, which ingrained our relationship with risk got skewed a bit. Risk is something to be avoided. Things have to be clear, and we don't want any ambiguity. Do what everybody else is doing. And as they say in Delhi, the Delhi folks here, bid chaal ho gayi. Everybody goes the same day. So a mindset got created which has put in a lot of limiting beliefs within all of us. Then, especially in the current generation, post 95, 2000, the economic boom happened, people started earning a lot, people started having good jobs, and suddenly success came. And with this success, unfortunately, came a trap. That suddenly it's a fallback from deprivation to having and having more and having more and having more. Our parents took a lifetime to build a house. Now people have their house, the first flat in 30s. They're looking for a second one in 40s and a villa and God knows what next. So this leads to a cycle of, cycles of EMI.
So fundamentally, what changed were the signs of success, but the process of success still remains the same.
Exactly. So going to US for a vacation, posting them on the Facebook, all of that becomes a social trap. So while we somehow wanted to get liberated, but it's become a trap because of that. And the third thing, very different from these 2 points, what we have identified in our work so far, is that there are internalized role identities that people have taken up. And it's interesting to see that how men and women have taken up different role identities in our work. We found out, even though you're going to meet those tech-savvy, professional, high-flying men and women, but if you go beneath that and you see the internalized identity a man still holds is that of a provider and caregiver. Provider and protector. So hence, what does that mean? I can't take too many risks. I can't leave my job, even if your wife is working and she's earning well. But the internalized identity is that I am the provider. And for the woman, the identity is I'm the caregiver. Even though we have reached where we have reached, what that leads to is it leads to maybe guilt if you go out, or it leads to feeling unfulfilled. So these elements of identity play a role, even though the world has changed, social success has come in.
We've been actually very surprised, especially with the women participants that have come in the show series they've shared. And for men, that was very humbling for us, by the way, when we discovered this, that it's almost like that putting yourself second is such a default. That for them, that to say that I deserve it and I need to do something for myself seems to fall on them saying why. But it's been very hard for us and to help them see this particular thing, that how locked in the socialite mindset is of nurturance and of putting yourself second.
So I like the way you put it. It's like Bangalore.
Yeah.
You want to say that?
Yeah, so I was when we were writing the script down and we were like, so what does it feel like? I said it feels like our city of Bangalore. You see startups, venture capital, and so much glitz and glamour that gets projected to the outside world. So there is this whole projection of wealth, but underlying it is the garbage, the traffic problems, the social issues that Bangalore city faces today of abuse at schools. So there is a projection of wealth, and then there are fundamental issues of health.
Yeah. So how these issues of health, quote unquote health, we discovered in our work over last 1.5 years with 28 people that we worked with, it's created a trap people have gotten into. And if you look at these traps, one of the biggest traps we've seen is fear of failure. People approach tasks with fear of failure rather than hope of success. What does that mean? People are looking for assured outcomes. Give me a solution where outcome is given.
Make sure that my next step should be something that will give me this much income. You should make sure that I will have this much done. Or for women, it would be saying, I'm willing to step out of home, but assure me that my child will be taken care of.
And assure me that my lifestyle is going to be maintained. It was very interesting, and one of the persons I was talking, he said, you know what, lifestyle seems to have become more important than life itself.
Absolutely.
Can you just
I'm going to just
go
fast.
Yeah, and this is also based on the work we picked up from Dr. Khandwala's work, and some of the parameters is we still want a clear pathway. As he puts it, allergy to ambiguity is very high. Conformity to the social norms, conformity to the identities that they have internalized, rigidity of choices and habits, a lot of touchiness gotten developed against criticism, against breaking the status quo, and
that to me is a big one, Amit, because then that means that mistakes that I may have made in life, I find them hard to even discuss them. And that kept on coming up when we ran the program, that it's actually those past hurts that you're sitting on is what's blocking your potential.
And there are not enough spaces available to, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
So it leaves people with belief system that I'm not good enough, I don't have enough, whatever I've got till now is just a chance, and that's it. I can't take any risks. And like the lady out here, we seem to be trapped in a glass bottle created by ourselves. So Sanjay, on that note, can you tell us about TAKE2?
So TAKE2 came
5 more minutes.
5 more minutes. So TAKE2 came in this.
It's okay to ask a question or later? Because it's relevant to the slide. Questions later, please. Okay.
Sorry.
So TAKE2 is really a program. We don't call it only a workshop, and the program includes a pre-work, but the core of it is a 2.5-day residential program where people come in and we help them look at their mindset, look at all of what you just saw, to really surface that and work with it. And most importantly, we give them post-workshop support. quote, because what Take2 does towards end of the workshop is to actually look at designing your life forward. So this program, right from the word go, from the time we start having the first conversation with the person who wants to come there, we talk about what's the design of your life today and how is it working out. So we just put that right up front. One of the things, Amit, that I would like to talk about is that how is this different from, let's say, doing a lab or a training program in a corporate setting? Because corporate settings also talk about this. Well, yes, labs and corporate training also focus on invoking your agency. That's something that's core to any program of this nature. Well, what a corporate training program does is there's always an agenda of the corporation floating around, or an organization that is not a corporation. And what we have done is has created a space where the individual comes in and talks about the disruptive change that you want to make in your life. Take2 is a very disruptive change because it's not only about work, which happens to be the reason many people come in, but it's also something that impacts your life deeply, your finances, your relationship, your health, your own sense of self. It goes through such tremendous churning and wrenching stuff that a formal corporate or an organizational environment just can't hold that space for an individual. As far as the lab is concerned, and I probably will raise some heckles in the room by saying this, we've often heard, okay, I have a lot of self-awareness, but how do I make this work in my life? And that's the response. In response to that is what we've created a whole lot of support mechanisms post the workshop, which help people sustain the design of life that they have made. And the most pleasant surprise for us, and something that is actually overwhelming also, is that the 28 participants who've come in so far have created a whole sense of community around themselves. Because somewhere when you have touched that Take2 within yourself, that achievement orientation within yourself, seeing others do it around you seems to make a lot of difference to people. So there is a whole community of change makers, so people who are changing themselves to make change out there. That's the community that's evolving now.
And in the interest of time, can you put the next one directly, and we'll stay with the crux, right?
Yeah. So what's really the crux of Take2? And we've been asking this question ourselves, saying because it's really an action research for us. We went in with certain ideas, we tried it with 3 batches. So what's really coming out?
I want to really put my thanks and gratitude to the ABS because for this we wrote it, and then the concept started getting more clear. Thank you, Lalita, for pushing us to do that.
So I think one of to just capture the process, what's the crux of it? Well, the process of self-actualization, and a lot of you put up your hand, most of you put up your hand when we started asking you that question in the beginning. The process of self-actualization is inherently embedded with a whole lot of struggle. And that struggle is what we bring to people's, really face-to-face, that confront themselves in a very intense manner. There are some of you who have attended there, and you can talk to Viren here. Is Linda here? So
Linda's presenting. She's presenting her Take2.
She's running her Take2 there. And so we bring that struggle forward, and the acceptance and awareness of that is something that brings people alive. What they become alive with is really that life is inherently ambiguous, full of failures, risk. The scripts that I have got so far will not work anymore. And that, with the paradoxical thing of it, is an indomitable primal life force that they get in touch with when they get in touch with that sentiment. So there is always a moment for each participant that we've noticed in these 2.5 days when they're seized with this paradox that life is inherently ambiguous, and yet I have to keep myself on, yet I have to keep my passion on, and I have to make a difference to others.
I think that's the real thing. When I own up my struggles, I put them up on the table, face them, all my fears, and that's when I get the strength to deal with them.
And the moment that moment comes in is when we actually create experiences, we give them a lived experience of what they really could be, and through various activities, which really gets in touch or achievement motivation really in action? What does it feel like? And I call it that's the time where Meera has witnessed Krishna. And now that she's witnessed him once, she wants him every time, and that striving starts there to see yourself that you've never seen before, to be in touch with it. And that striving is nothing but individuation.
And as Sanjay said, the whole awareness and the design process is keeping your life always in mind. The context of your life is always alive, from what it has been to what it's going to look like. And as we say, you live your future twice, once in your mind and once you actually live it. So make people live the future once and make them come alive through that.
How much?
2 more
Can we
minutes?
take 3 more minutes?
2 more minutes. Sunita, you had a question.
Yeah, could you go back to the slide which you said the trap and
Yeah.
in this first I want to clarify, you were talking about a trap that all of us are in.
Yeah.
Yeah? So I just wanted to point out that while we're talking about a trap that all of us are in, somehow the person who's sitting inside the trap is a woman.
Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, so while we're talking about, the woman feeling in a certain way, we are in the here and now not aware how we are creating it collectively.
Thank you for bringing that in. Yes.
An unconscious process.
The unconscious process. Yes.
It is so strong that we don't see it. And
Yeah.
we are all behavioral scientists, so-called, assigned.
And you choose to let the question pass. Thank you for bringing it up now. Yeah.
Okay.
Quickly, let's take 2 minutes to talk about
What's
a
next?
little bit of the data. Huh?
What's next?
Or what next?
Yeah.
Let's go to what next.
Yeah.
You have only 2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
What's next?
I
Done.
thought you would finish, that's why I invited you.
I asked. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
So let's leave the stories.
Yeah. So what's next? So we understand our work in terms of study and research is far from being over. We truly believe this work needs attention as it is attempting to address a real social and economic issue that exists in the country today.
Let me give you some data. There are 250 million middle class people in India. Let's say 20% of them are the category we're talking about, which is around 50 million people in this category potentially who are sitting on unfulfilled and desire being alive.
Urban India today stands a country of high aspirations. It is a boon and a bane at the same time. The large number of emerging opportunities unleashed by technology, new organization models, global talent, and offer unprecedented promise of professional and personal growth. Yet the centuries-old social structures are breaking down, with relationships at work and home under stress, emerging new identities to aspire for, a dislocation of the psychological contract with employment itself, rapid redundancy of skills, and an overwhelm that is born out of so many choices out there in the environment. The boon promises a larger individuated identity, but it fails because the stressed social fabric soon unravels and the brittle identity becomes very clear. And hence there are no spaces for individuals to talk about it. TAKE2 provides that space. We believe the trend of finding more individuated identities in urban India is seeing an explosive growth for both women and men. These are women and men who are able to make difficult long-term choices while continuing to take responsibility for their consequences. At a macro level, we hope that it leads to many more and much needed agents of change for the immense socio-economic challenges of India. There is a dire need to have more personal transformation spaces like TAKE2. Research around such disruptive change at individual level and the impact such personal transformation has on the people we are and the society we become. And we will leave you with that quote to ponder over. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.